Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear me. Uh, Excited to see this Simon solve. React is the button I'm supposed to pick. So there we go. Okay, you can hear me. Sound is good. I'll move the microphone to my face even so it's closer. So we get to see Simon solve the puzzle that I called Beauty Mark. It was indeed the idea of chat, although people in chat disagree about whose idea it actually was. Ambrose and Microstudy, I believe, both claimed it was each other who came up with the title Beauty Mark to reference my common setting habit of having a single disambiguating black dot in the grid. Microstudy, though, is undeniably responsible for the fact that there is a Z in the grid. As I will point out in a moment, the line was originally not drawn as a Z, but then I liked that actually played with the title as well. We're getting a little bit of a late start today to this. Usually we do it pretty promptly afterwards, but as it happened today, I had a curriculum committee meeting until late, so talking about all the exciting things related to the curriculum of the college that I talk about. So then I booked it home to try to make it. I can't tell if my air conditioning is on and I'm just sweaty because I was running home, or if my air conditioning is off. I am not sure. But anyway, so I made it. And then my laptop had died because my laptop has created a new habit where my laptop about half the time will turn off if it's closed. And then so it had to get rebooted and all of that sort of thing. Anyway, we are here now. And let us see if the CTC music, if you can hear it. Amusingly, when I first got to my laptop, it just started playing a video on gardening. So I almost had someone telling us how to process beets in the background of this, which I'm sure would have been delightful to many of you. I don't even know how I had a video about processing beets. I mean, I have been watching a lot of gardening videos, but I'm pretty sure I did not ask for any videos about processing beets. But anyway, I saw a lot of people in chat, by the way, saying that this was their first time catching a live stream. So, woo, welcome. Zeta reacts to beets. That would be perfect. Yes, absolutely. I will do a beet taste test. You know, once I get that PO box set up and you all send me snacks to eat on stream, it will be amazing. But anyway, welcome to all the newcomers and welcome to all the old comers. So let us see. Can you hear this? And you can in a minute tell me how my voice compares to Simon's. But currently Simon isn't talking, so you can't really tell me that.
Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where today we're going to be taking a look
How's
at,
that?
I think it's a type of sequel. This one's called Beauty Mark, and it's by
is
zetamath. Who else with
good.
this
Okay,
Z
excellent.
rather prominently placed in the grid? In fact,
Oh,
I wonder if
ELSF
the
donates
Beauty Mark is
$10.
not
Thank you,
referring to-
ELSF. Let me get
it's
you
probably not referring to our
a
mark,
dance
is it?
from
I think it
our
probably
visiting
is the
Zach.
Z in the grid. But this involves the Nabna line, which I did a puzzle about only a few days ago, it seems. So these lines.
So I'm curious, by the way, he mentions he did a puzzle by this a few days ago. Is he referring to Soliloquy, or did someone else publish a Nabner puzzle that he did recently? I would believe either. I'm not sure. Tristan is complaining about something else. What's on?
Actually, you could bump Simon's volume up a bit more in OBS.
Nope. Oh, in OBS. Yep, I can do that. There's a bit more. But yeah, I was mentioning how the Z was microstudies. Originally, this Z was a U, and because it's a oh, you can't see my cursor? Is that true? Can you not see my cursor? It seems you can't see my cursor. I don't know why you can't see my cursor. Normally people can see my cursor, but anyway, you know what Z it is that I'm pointing at, because there's only one Z in the grid. Oh, I bet it's that. I bet now you can see my cursor. There we go. Okay, I didn't have the window selected. That's why. This Z was originally a U, and because the way Nabner lines work, it didn't matter. Microstudy immediately suggested that I make it a Z instead, which is, of course, perfect, because I try and put Zs in my puzzles when I can.
Lines here, the yellow lines, have to not have a consecutive digit on them anywhere. So what did it say in the instructions? It says something like, if a line has a 3 on it, then you can't put a 2 or a 4 on it
J-shaped
anywhere.
cage completely by
So
accident.
It's a very,
this
very strange idea.
This Z was
The blue
also a
lines are
complete
reading
accident,
some
J.
lines on this
Dyer.
one. But of course, with
Okay,
it
this
being
is actually
zetamath,
way too
it's
loud
got
for
all the
me,
plaudits
so I'm going
you'd
to
come expect
lower
from the
that a
great
smidge
man.
and turn this
This
up,
is
and
what
you
we're
can
gonna be
tell me if
having
it's
a go
up
at in
enough.
today's video. Now, what news do I have to tell you about before we actually get cracking? I've got a couple of things to
'cause
mention.
I can always put up
Firstly,
more if I need to.
Patreon Reward Day is Friday, the 1st of September.
All right,
4
good,
o'clock
good, good.
on Friday is when our new Sudoku
And then I'll
hunt
still be
will
able to hear
launch.
afterwards.
Look out for it over on Patreon.
Yeah, Carl, I
It's
just
called Lines and
had a
Shapes, and it
notification
heralds
that you solved
the-
it, which is great to
very
see.
soon, it heralds the arrival of Line Sudoku, our brand new app that we've been working on for months and months.
Ooh, I'm very excited to hear the Line Sudoku app is finally going to come out, because the Line Sudoku app has a number of puzzles. In theory, we'll see how many of them are actually there. But I submitted a number of puzzles I was quite proud of for the Line Sudoku app. We will see how many of them made it.
Months. We're so behind. It takes us ages to test all the puzzles now and to write all the hints because we're so busy with all the stuff around the channel. But that is coming very soon. So we've got a Sudoku hunt to sort of herald the arrival. We've got some new merch.
Navario says some of those puzzles were absolutely gorgeous and does not comment on the one that traumatized him.
If I do say so myself.
Uh-oh.
There
we go.
And was there anything else about that? I don't think so. I think that's one of the things I've got to tell you. The next thing I've got to tell you is the happy birthday.
Uh-oh.
Now,
I have no idea why this is lagging.
Which I'm doing late.
Tristan can tell me if there's something wrong with our internet or something I need to fix.
Rachel, it was your birthday a couple of days ago, and this is not my fault that this is late, because your sister Annabelle only wrote to us.
Went to lower quality for whatever reason. Of course, today is going to be the day where our internet suddenly doesn't work.
You're able to have a brilliant
but
day
we'll do
with,
our
of course,
best.
Some chocolate cake. And then now this one is more my fault. Caleb, it was your birthday yesterday.
Oh yeah, I guess if
You
I'm
turned
streaming and that's
23,
coming out okay,
and I
that
know
should mean
this
the internet's
because
okay.
your
Who knows
fiancé
what's going on?
Priya
YouTube
wrote
is
to
weird
us.
sometimes.
And I know you've been working hard, Caleb, because you've been doing your CFA exams. In fact, I think you had a CFA exam on your birthday, which is jolly mean of whoever of that examination board. CFA exams quite hard as well, I think, if I remember rightly.
CFA?
Well, I hope it went very well. And I hope that you're able to have some
What does
chocolate
CFA
cake
stand
or
for?
you had some chocolate
Not
cake,
sure.
To make yourself feel better.
Yes, happy birthday to the
After a
birthday
day's
havers.
stress.
Absolutely.
And then finally, I've got the day right for this one. Stoyan, it's your 34th birthday over there in Chicago, Illinois.
Certified financial
And I know
advisor.
this because
Okay.
your fiance Tori wrote to us, and apparently Stoyan, you like chantilly cake. But I think Tori is planning on giving you chocolate cake in celebration of the Cracking the Cryptic.
Welcome, Zimbo, by the way.
Cracking the Cryptic
and
meme,
Kevin.
Today. So I hope you have a brilliant birthday. It's a city I've never been to. I would love to go to Chicago.
I'm told they discourage creativity in that exact
anyway, that's the birthdays.
context.
Now we must do some solving, mustn't we? So these are the rules of Beauty Mark by zetamath. They are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. So we have to put the digits 1 to 9, once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box.
Blackjack suggesting there's a trifecta of completing the puzzle yourself, watching Simon solve it, and now watching me react to it. That's quite a trifecta. We'll see. I bet there are a number of trifecta getters. I will say, I was in my office and I resisted. I've not watched this. I have not watched any of this yet. I watched just the first 30 seconds or so to make sure, see what was said. But anyway, so this is all new to me. So you'll get my honest reactions in full time to see to do this. I did actually wonder if there was a chance I would get a mark feature if I called this Beauty Mark. Let's see. I can turn up a bit. I'm now almost at the max though, so I can't turn it. I can't turn Simon up too much more.
Cells separated by the black dot contain digits in a 1-to-2 ratio, i.e. one digit will be double the other. So if this was a 2, that could be a 4, well, not a 3, a 4 or a 1. Obviously, if it's 1, 2 is double 1. If it's 4, 4 is double 2.
I suppose I can always turn the gain down on my own mic if I am too loud.
Black dot in the grid. The golden lines are Nabner lines.
Micro, by the way, I have in previous puzzles sometimes referred to the Nabner lines as yellowish. Micro has advocated very strongly for golden as the descriptor because it sounds, I believe Micro said, sounds sophisticated. So I definitely went with golden as the standard now for how I describe whatever color these are. I will note they use a yellower gold than my actual color. I think because the color I use is atrocious. But they have definitely done the thing that I really appreciate that was pointed out last time. I only learned this last time, but they make the lines very different thicknesses. So even if you're, I don't know if yellow blue is a standard kind of colorblind or not, but even if you're colorblind, you can still tell the difference between the two lines based on their thicknesses.
Nabna line. And Nabna lines cannot contain consecutive digits, regardless of order. E.g., if a line has a 3 anywhere on it, 2 and 4 cannot appear on the line. So we've already talked about that. It's a strange constraint, plays with your head. And the blue lines in the grid are region sum lines. The sum of digits on a blue line must be the same within each 3x3 box the line.
Yeah, 2 to 10th has a really enticing looking Nabner puzzle that I cannot wait to do, but I have promised a future guest, not to be named yet, that I would wait and do it with them. So you'll have to wait for a guest stream to see me do the 2 to 10th puzzle, but I am very, very excited to do the 2 to 10th Nabner puzzle.
Line passes through, and there's an example here. Let me scroll down to this. E.g.
To be fair, Micro, I was going for sketchy.
Column 3, row 3, column 2. Row 3 column, yeah. Okay, so what we're being told here is those 3 digits, which are, if we look at this blue line here, you can see that this blue line has 3 cells in box number 1. So we sum up those 3 digits, and we'll find that those must sum, these green ones must sum to the same as the sum of the orange ones must sum to the same as the purple ones there. I'm just going to just check that there's nothing surprising about this. I think that's right. Row 1, column 4, row 1, column 5. It's normal rules. So it's normal.
Very wise with me to check that I did not sneak anything in there. I often miss it when people sneak things in, but I do often sneak in weird things. But there's no weird things in this puzzle. I do not believe. I think it's all standard rules. Although I did see a couple people in the YouTube comments note that they got tripped up because the fact that digits can't repeat in Nabners was not in the rules for Soliloquy, because Soliloquy only had Nabner lines that were straight lines. So they did not read carefully to note that was a part of the Nabner rules.
Region sum line rules. So if we do this one, those
which does make the puzzle quite impossible.
Those digits have to come to the same sum. So it's pretty standard stuff. Once you get your head around Nabner lines and region sum lines, you're good to go. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking.
Hey, Bronte Man, welcome. Nice to see you again.
Well, we haven't got any greatly long. I mean, I suppose you can't really have a very long Nabner line, can you? You could have a 5-cell Nabner line, because a 5-cell Nabner line could have 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9 on it, but a 6-cell Nabner line couldn't exist, because it would force a consecutive pair somewhere along the line.
Now he's starting to do the logic to cascade, which is my other Nabner puzzle that I published recently is very much about this whole parody idea. Someone also recently, I forget who, I apologize to whoever it was that suggested it because it was a great idea, suggested Nabner lines where only digits that are 4 apart or less along the lines have to meet the Nabner rule, so that you could have Nabners that were long, but just the digits that were more than 4 cells apart along the lines didn't see each other, which I think sounds like a fantastic idea that would let you have longer Nabner lines, and no doubt more brain-breaking puzzles.
So, but we do have a lot of 4-cell Nabner lines in this puzzle, so I do feel there's some sort of constraint going on there. No, but it's not quite as good. I was wondering, for example, if you could force there not to be a 1 on a Nabner line, That doesn't actually mean that 2 has to be on the line, does it? Because 3 could be on the line with 3, 5, 7 and 9. Yeah, okay, so it's not quite. Even a 4-cell line, I think, has flexibility. So maybe it's region sum lines is where we start. So it's probably this big region sum line, isn't it? Although,
So my inspiration for this puzzle, I will say, was just, hey, if I put a length 4 Nabner and a length 5 region sum line through a box, it's going to be a lot more restricted than it looks like it's going to be because of the fact that Nabner lines can't have too many low digits on them. So that was basically the entire idea. And basically the rest of the puzzle was just sort of figuring out how to sort of exactly fit something that looked roughly like box 2 into the grid. Originally, box 2 was box 1 and it was mirrored. But as often happens now, I ended up sort of moving around the various boxes so that I could fit sort of natural evolutions of things various places.
often with region sum lines, what you're looking for is the juxtaposition of very short line segments with very long line segments. Here we've just got 3 versus 5. So the minimum sum of those digits... Oh, okay, yeah, of course. They can't be 15, can they, in this instance? Because if we did make those 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, that is going to totally scupper the beauty mark, which would have to contain lots of consecutive digits. Right. So what's the right way to think about this then? So I've got to have... I don't know. It's probably best to think about this in terms of the maximum. The maximum value of that is 24.
Oh, Ken has donated $5. I'll get you a little Zach dance while I talk about what I think the easiest way to think about this is. Woohoo! Waha! Thank you so much, Ken. I think the easiest way to think about this, and the reason why this is set up exactly this way, is that instead of maxing and minning the region sum line, which is, I think, difficult, I think it's much easier to figure out what the max and min are on the Nabner, because I think you could figure out the max in Nabner could possibly be as 9753, and the min is 1357, and then you just use the magic of the secret, which I won't spoil, because I have a feeling Simon's going to mention the secret in a moment. But you can use the secret to turn the max and the min of the Nabner line into the max and min of the region sum line.
So the maximum value of that is 24. And by the secret, therefore, the minimum value of this is 21.
Which, funnily enough, is just literally the actual
now,
minimum.
I've elided over something now. I've spotted one thing about the Z as a result of that. And let me just explain what I did there, because I did use a secret, and it's something I only tell my favourite people. But if you're still watching this video, you're definitely one of my favourite people. The secret is, just keep it to yourself, any complete box of a Sudoku, indeed any complete row or any complete column, because of the rules of Sudoku, it contains...
I tried really hard to make it so that the course number of my Sudoku course would be Math 145. But sadly, for complicated institutional reasons, it would have been an obscene amount of work to make that happen. It would have required rewriting multiple majors, which I was not going to do. So, in fact, it ended up being 121 because we do a lot of 6x6s instead. But I was very disappointed that I could not do that.
Contains the digits 1 to 9 once each, and if you sum those...
Yeah, it turned out there were multiple majors that referred to something was satisfied by taking a math course with number 140 or higher. And so then inexplicably, someone could replace taking a calculus course with taking a Sudoku course, which probably was not the intention of the people who wrote that language. So that was why we ended up doing it the other way. So 121 is not bigger than 140, so it works out okay.
Digits, you get 45. So I know this box sums to 45. So if I hypothesize that these 3 cells are maxed out at 7, 8, 9, 24, that means these sum to 24, and means these sum to 21. That would be what was forced by that sequence of events. But if we lower these because we're lowering these, we have.
So my original thing, like the original very first step of this puzzle, this is not quite preserved. It's going to end up being much different than this when he actually does this. But my original intended first observation was this actually doesn't work. The 789 here makes it impossible to make the Nabner line work because I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to choose from. And one easy way to think about Nabner logic is any pair of consecutive numbers you can only have one of. So if I only have the digits 1 through 6, well, I can have one of 1 or 2, one of 3 and 4, and one of 5 and 6. That's at most 3 numbers. So this couldn't be 7, 8, 9. That was originally going to be sort of the first step in this puzzle. It's not quite the first step that we're going to end up finding, I don't think, because I think it's going to turn out that for other reasons you can actually get at this. But I tried to sort of play that off in a couple ways. For a while, there were like 2 lines, this line and this line perfectly pointed into the same box, and we're going to cause a problem if there was a unique way of making this or something. I tried a bunch of different versions before I found this little line here proves to be quite insidious.
Have to increase these. So this Z here is adding up to at least 21. Now, why is that interesting? Well, imagine that it didn't have a 9 on it. Well, then its maximum value would be the even digits in Sudoku. We could do 8, 6, 4, and 2. That would be the maximum we could put on it. We could put 8, 6, 4, and 1 if you want, but it won't be maxed out. So to max it out, you've got to take the even digits, and I know the even digits sum to 20 in Sudoku, because I've done so many Sudokus.
It is funny how, over time you internalize that the sum of the evens is 20. For whatever reason, I always remember the sum of the evens is 20, and then I figure out that the sum of the odds is 25 by redoing the secret to get there rather than just remembering the sum of the odds is 25.
So that won't work. So there is definitely a 9 on the Nabner line in box 2, and now there is no 8 on it. I'm getting deja vu. I think the last zetamath one I did with these Nabner lines had green lines on it. It had a beautiful beginning where you got a 5 on a Nabner line in this box, I think.
I'm amazed that he remembers anything about any of the puzzles he's done more than 10 minutes ago, because I rarely do.
8 on it. Okay, but I could put 7 on this line, couldn't I? So the maximum value of the Z is 9753, which is 1624. And the minimum value is 9135, which is 9135, I want to say is 18. So we're looking values between 18 and 24 inclusive for the Nabner line.
Yes, do please like the stream. It is greatly appreciated if you do so. Something algorithm magic.
27. Okay. So if we minimize the Nabner line at 18, that causes the blue line to sum to 27 by the secret in box 2, and that would force these squares.
Hey Andrew, welcome.
To 27 in box 1, and that's not going to work because the maximum they could be is 7, 8, 9. So, okay.
I will say to Andrew, I'm looking forward to tackling your latest LMD thing. Looks very much up my alley, but it's going to be a while before I get to it because I've got Stream 200 puzzles to do. I believe I can say, by the way, that I'm going to continue those on Friday and then on Sunday, and Tall Cat's going to join and help on Sunday, so hopefully we can get more of them knocked out.
So where are we now? So this could be 24, that could be 24, and this could be 21. Oh, but we said 9753, which was 24. Right, so the value of this is either
welcome,
24,
Algie.
23, 22, or 21.
Yes, that's a good point. Tristan is going to be streaming on Monday as well, so you can look forward to that as well. Yeah, the more exciting shifting around in the schedule as we get everything sort of set up for the semester.
That black dot I don't think helps. That black dot smacks of something that has been added at the very last. So I imagine...
I love how this black dot works.
But I know that zetamath will have tried hard, I think, to not have this black dot in the puzzle, unless this black dot does some sort of absolutely majestic trick, which it could do. But otherwise,
Usually I'll say this is a frequent thing, which I'll say for those of you who have not sort of seen me do this. I like having black dots to disambiguate puzzles generally. I mean, if the puzzle works very well otherwise, and I like my logic and I can't shift it around to keep it, then I'll use a black dot. But usually it's not just a straight It's usually not just a straight breaking up a deadly pattern, and I will spoil for you here. This is just a straight breaking up a deadly pattern. And had I not looked at, or had I not just had a conversation with everyone on stream about sort of calling this a beauty mark and something, I would have probably looked for another way to do it. But I do think it is hilarious, the pencil mark that's about to go on this black dot, because, spoiler, you're going to find out that all of 5, 7, and 9 have to go on the Nabner here. And so, therefore, this is going to get marked with only digits that could go on a black dot anyway. And so you're then going to get absolutely nothing out of the black dot until the very end. Yeah, the black dot was definitely the intended beauty mark. Although when Micro suggested putting this Z here, I realized that people might think that was the beauty mark. And I liked that ambiguity. Live in the liminal space.
I think it's going to be there for late solving, not early solving.
Hey, Ictus, welcome.
Okay, so this is between 24, this is 21, 22, 23 or 24. So this is 24, 23, 22 or 21. So it nearly has to have a 9 on it, but not quite. It doesn't have to have... Oh, no, it probably does have to have a 9 on it, actually. Because if that... The only way of not... Given this has to add up to at least 21. I'm just going to double check that. That is right, isn't it? If this was 20, this would be 20. That would be 25. But the maximum we said there was 24. 9, 7, 5, and 3. Yeah, okay. So this does have to be at least 21. Now, imagine there's no 9 on it. Then 21 has to be 6, 7, and 8.
I will admit, I never noticed that these things in these boxes had the same range. I of course knew that they were 21. I of course knew the region sumline was 21, 22, 23, or 24. But I never thought again after knowing that about what the Nabner summed to, because summing a Nabner doesn't actually do anything. And so Simon is now sort of bouncing back and forth between thinking about these two things. And it's funny that they're both between 21 and 24. And I can see that is confusing him. And if I'd ever thought about it, it might have confused me. But I did not ever think about it, so it did not.
And that's going to break this line. No, it's not. No, it's not.
I do love how beautifully it does not break it.
I thought I was going to break the line. I was suddenly thinking, well, surely you can't take out 3 consecutive digits and leave behind something that will work, but you can. That could be 1, 3, 5, and 9. Oh, Bobbins McBobbins face. All right, I'm going to break it a different way. It's quite complicated to break it this way. But if that was 1, 3, 5, 9, which is the only thing it could then be and exist in the world of Nabner lines, that would be a 2-4 pair. And that surely doesn't work, because 2 plus 4 is 6, and that would have to be a 1, 2, 3 triple to make 6 in 3 cells, and that doesn't work. Right, that's very complicated, and probably not at all what's required. But I have now proved that there is a 9 on this section of region sum line, and that means the 9 in row 1 has to be over there at the top of box 3 in one of those 3 squares.
You will imagine that I tried a lot of different clues that went through this 9 to use. There were a lot of variations on drawing Nabners through this 9, none of which ended up surviving into the puzzle. But anytime I get a corner mark like this arising naturally, I try to use it. It did not pan out here, so it does basically nothing. But it is the sort of thing that I tend to gravitate towards. It will technically do something with this cell later. Spoiler.
Which is, I think, probably not going to be. It's not going to be the kicker, is it?
Microstudy mentioning Renban VBan, which is my puzzle. Are you trying to move this away from me or towards me or what?
Your mic's just a little hot.
Should I just turn down the gain a smidge? There we go. How's that? Is that better for you? Microstudy mentioning the anti-V Renban puzzle I have, which I enjoyed. I have contemplated and I've tried, but I've not yet succeeded. I have tried to make a Nabner anti-V puzzle. I kind of want to do a Nabner anti-V puzzle because why not? But I have not yet succeeded. But we will see.
What's going on? Zetamath, what are you doing? Naughty Zetamath, making Simon's brain hurt. Is it this line? Is it this line somehow? That's now not got 9 on it. But that could still be 8. That could still add to 20.
So let me outline for you the way I thought about this. I have no idea if this is exactly what Simon's going to tell you or not. The way I thought about this is to first prove that there needs to be 2 of 7, 8, 9 on this 3-cell region sum line. Because if I don't use at least 2 of 7, 8, and 9, then what am I left with? Well, then I'm left with at most 9 plus 8 plus 5, and that's only 20. Wait, that didn't sound right. Sorry, if I don't use, I did not do that math right in my head. 9, 6, 5, right. I said if I don't use 2 of them, and then I proceeded to use 2 of them. 9, 6, 5, which is exactly 20, which is exactly too few. So I need 2 7, 8, 9s here. Also, as noted earlier, when I noted this can't be 7, 8, 9, because it would break the Nabner grabs the last 7, 8, 9. So the first observation that I intended people to make here is that there's no 7, 8, 9s in these 2 cells, which makes them small, but not in a way that's useful, because it says they're at most 6. And then you might think to yourself, so they're at most 5 and 6, which is 11, which is exactly small enough to be completely useless. But the thing that I then intended is sort of the last question for you to ask yourself is, where do the 1 and the 2 go in this box? Because I'm definitely not putting a 1 or a 2 on this region sum line piece. Because if I put a 1 or a 2 there, then it sums to at most 19, which is nowhere near enough. I'm only putting 1 of 1 and 2 on the Nabner. And so actually this region sum line, this little bitty bit here, it's actually a digit that's at most 6 together with a digit that's at most 2. And so that ends up forcing this entire thing. That was how I intended. We'll see how Simon does it. I know that's very much not how Wen Cheng did it. I'm pretty sure, at least based on my ability to reason about what Wen Cheng said. Wen Cheng, by the way, solves Sudoku puzzles in Chinese. I do not speak Chinese, but every time Wen Cheng does one of my puzzles, I watch it because there's such a surreal experience to watch someone solve one of your puzzles in a language that you do not speak. It's really awesome. So anyway, I know that he did something that was not exactly what I did, but he just sort of talks about it out loud for a while, and this just starts filling in digits. And so he clearly did something. So I'm curious to see if Simon is going to do what I outlined or do it a different way.
Oh, no, it can't. Of course it can't. Right, it's something to do with the maths of this box, isn't it? Because this is a jolly great slug of digits here. This is at least 21. Now, what's 1, 3, 5, and 7? 16. Which is the minimum.
Oh,
line.
Oh, that's a gorgeous way to think about it. It's
So
very different than how I thought about it.
37. So these squares add up to at least 37 and probably a lot more. So this adds up to an absolute maximum of 8. So there has to be a 1 on that line.
Yeah, that is very elegant, and probably is what Wen Chang did, but I did not think about the question of what is the minimum sum of these 7 digits together, which is a very natural question to ask, given that you literally just did that in box 2. But yeah, that's a nice way to get that this has to sum to 8 or whatever.
Oh, no, that's beautiful. That's it. We've done it. Okay, I've done it. So, what's the minimum I could make this string of digits add up to full stop? Forget about the lines. Just cast them from your minds. Doesn't that feel better? Okay, the minimum sum of 5 different digits in Sudoku is the triangular number 5. It's 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, which is 15. Well, actually, this line can't add up to 15 because it's consisting of cells value that add up to x and another series of cells that add up.
Now, I will say, I did see this 15 trick, the 15-16 trick he's doing. I did see it. It wasn't how I liked thinking about it, because in my proof, I knew there was a 1 or a 2 involved in this 2-digit sum. And so the second I know this 1 corner mark, which was very much rigged so that there would be this 1 corner mark, that was very intentional, then you know there's not a 1, and so because there's not a 1, there must be a 2. That was the thing, and then now you figure out, okay, well, there is a 2, and then you immediately get this min-max math out of this sort of virtual pair floating around. Now, I have an unholy love of pairs and triples and virtual pairs and virtual triples, so I'm not surprised to see that a human has chosen to do this puzzle without talking about virtual pairs and virtual triples all over. But that was how I thought about it, was that this is telling me that the 1 or 2 that I know is here is now not a 1, it's a 2. And then that sort of forces all of the math to unravel.
X. In other words, it adds up to an even number. So actually, we now know the minimum sum that this line could add up to is 16. And
Welcome,
that would
Wolf.
make x equal to 8. Well, so that means the absolute minimum this domino adds up to is 8. And I've just worked out that is what it must be, because I know that those squares add up to at least 37. And the whole box adds to 45. So that is 8. This is 16, which has to be 1, 3, 5, 7. This is 20.
Microstudy confessing in chat that they did not use any virtual triples in the process of solving this. Yeah, that definitely, I used it many times in the process of solving this, so I'll be curious to see if Simon ends up using that at all, or if Simon just finds a different way to think about mins and maxes.
21. Well, if that's 8, there must be an 8 on here. So this has got to be 9, 8, 4. And this has got to be 2 and 6, which do add up to 8. Right, and how do we make 3 cells add up to 8 without using 2? Well, I've got to make that 1, 3, 4 now. So that's not 1 or 3 in the corner, and no 3 in the corner in either of those positions. Zetamath, what are you doing? And now, well, now surely I could do something in this box as a result of all that jiggery-pokery. I know these add up to 21. These add up to 21. So these add up to 24. 24 was the maximum for the beauty mark. That was 9753. Yeah, that's 9753. It's the only way we can get up to 24.
I will say I was a bit disappointed when I was setting this that it turned out that this had to be either the maximum or the minimum. I would have preferred it turn out that the 3-cell sum was somewhere between the maximum and the minimum. But I liked the way, at least that I thought about box 1, that maybe I will be the only human who ever thinks about box 1 that way. But I liked that enough that it sort of let me keep that it worked out to be the maximum or the minimum. I don't know. I always find it a little weird when things work out sort of like to be exactly the maximum or exactly the minimum. I like there to be a little more tension than that, but I was happy enough with how it worked out.
So these squares, are we going, I'm going full, never mind beauty mark, I'm going full pencil mark today. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. Ow. Look at this stupid black dot. Where basically the only black dot digit that's not catered for in this square is 3. All the others are possible.
So that was why I liked the black dot there, was exactly for that reaction. That was exactly why I ended up deciding on that black dot. Yeah, was exactly that, to be like, oh, holy crap, we've set this up so that we get almost as close to nothing as you could possibly get by combining these two pieces of logic.
Okay. All right. So what do we do now? Have we actually made... Well, we have made some progress.
The ultimate thing that's going to happen, by the way, is that without this black dot, this is going to be a 2-6 deadly pattern. And if you've not done much setting before, you may never have come across a deadly pattern because, well, if you're only solving, you should never come across a deadly pattern. But what a deadly pattern is if these two digits have to be between 2 and 6 and these two digits have to be 2 and 6, then there's two ways to make that work, which is that this is 2 and that's 6, and so this is 6 and that's 2, or this is 6 and that's 2 and that's 2 and that's 6. And both ways work. And so unless you put a clue that distinguishes between these cells and these cells in some way, then you'll never be able to sort out which it is. And so in this case, the black dot does that by marking this one cell as having some special relationship between something else. But no Nabner or anything else, unless I was willing to draw a Nabner that crossed into this box, which I was absolutely never going to do. Nothing could disambiguate the 2-6 deadly pattern. Yeah, an inequality sign will do it, but I needed to add an additional constraint of some sort. Yeah, Selena suggesting the old classic of an 8-cell little killer clue that does absolutely nothing, that runs down all of these and sorts it out that way. There's lots of classic ways of handling this, but this, especially given the recency and the fact that it was pencil marked 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, was too perfect. I was happy with it.
But it doesn't look like it's done very much for us. Oh, sorry, I am not seeing this at all. Is it this column? 5, 7s, 8s, and 9s at the bottom. This is a Nabner line. This is a... Oh, okay, region sum lines. That's got to be at least... This has got to be at least 2 plus 5 plus 6 now. So that's at least 13. Oh, that's it. Right, okay. So it's now we have to look down here because those two squares can't add up to more than 13.
I really liked this because it's taking advantage of the fact that 8 and 9 in the column have to go down here in box 7. Because if these could be 8, 9, you're nowhere near the math that would actually make this work out to be anything at all interesting. But because of the fact that the 8 and 9 are going, it does, which I'm glad Simon saw quickly. It's the sort of thing that's easy to miss if you're not sort of like really carefully paying attention to the fact that the 8 and 9 have to be here. But if I don't put an 8 and a 9 in column 1 in box 7, then I just can't put an 8 and 9 in column 1 at all because I can't put either of them here. And that's going to leave me with some cells that don't have any digits in them, which is going to be a problem over the thing. Sorry, Stephen.
Because look at column 1. 8 and 9 are down at the bottom here by Sudoku. And therefore the maximum size I could make those two squares is a 6, 7 pair, which add up to 13. The minimum size we can find into these squares, because they can't be 1, 3, and 4, is 2, 5, 6, which adds up to 13. So that now I've got a digit. Woohoo! 2, 5, and 6. Look down at that square. So that's 7.
Surprise,
that's
7.
6. This is
There's going to be another digit very shortly,
5
hopefully.
or 7 anymore because of this. 7. Where does 7 go in column 1? There is a good question. For a change, I've got to put it there. That's the only place it can go. So now in box 1, I've got a 135 triple.
Thank you, Zach.
I've got lots and lots of high digits approximately placed in box 7. So okay, I'm going to pencil mark 1, 2, 3, and 4 onto the other digits, or into the other positions.
So, just a little insight while I actually remember. I feel like this is a much more interesting live reaction puzzle than live reaction than Soliloquy was, because when I was watching the one to Soliloquy, I'd set like 3 puzzles since I had set Soliloquy, and so I was basically like, "Oh, that's cool." Was basically my reaction to the whole thing. Whereas this one, I actually remember why I set it the way I did. So this was all sort of set up in a way that you would expect the region sum line here and the ones there. I sort of talked about that. The reason this Nabner is here is because I really wanted to use the fact that these are both 1, 2, 3, 4, which means that these digits have to be at least 5. Because again, the way I like to think about it is 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. You can have at most one of each of those pairs on the Nabner, and so 2, 1, 2, 3, 4s eats up all the possible 1, 2, 3, 4s on this Nabner. And as you're about to see, I was able, by bending this Nabner exactly into box 5, I was able to make it so the fact that this digit can't be as low as 4 ends up doing something interesting. But I sort of knew I was going to draw a Nabner through these two and make use of a high digit somehow. But that's how we did it. Oh, Nordy has made a donation. Thank you, Nordy. Let me get you a donation dance. Woohoo! Waha! Thank you, Nordy. Donating a dime for each of the 107 people watching. Thank you, Nordy. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that was sort of my logic here, was to do that.
Oh, goodness me. Come on. What's that doing? I don't know.
No, it'd probably be really helpful to note that.
Oh, there you go. There's a 7, 8, 9
yes,
triple here, so that's got to be a 4.
Okay, so now I can reveal that in Wen Chang's solve, Wen Chang does not notice that this 7, 8, 9 here sees this 5, 8, 9 down here for a very, very long time. And so Wen Chang finds a way to not ever need to use the fact that this digit's a 5. But we'll see if Simon notices or not. I suspect Simon will, but we'll notice. Hey, John, welcome.
9
Hope you enjoyed it.
Knocks 4 out of 2 places in box 7. So this is looking difficult. Oh, well, yeah, that's quite interesting, actually. Yes, I know. Shun me at parties. You won't be the first. These 2 squares, well, they definitely are on the Nabner line. So how could one of these be 8? The other one would be 7 or 9 and would be consecutive. So that's actually forced. That puts an 8 up here.
I will say, I think one of my weaknesses as a setter is that I saw this as a possible move, and then I kept being like, isn't that too, like, won't people be, like, annoyed by this? Like, won't that feel cheap to just get, like, a free 8 out of this Nabner? But of course, like, when you're actually solving a puzzle, you don't feel, like, cheated by, like, actually getting to use the deduction. It's like a lot of setters will use the phrase reward. I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever felt rewarded by solving one of my puzzles, but it's sort of a nice little payoff for this. And so I don't think it feels too hacky to have put this through here. I think it works out nicely. I'm glad Simon had a positive reaction to it, but it takes a lot of sort of me telling myself, no, you really can put in that clue that does that, and it will be okay. People will not complain that deduction was too straightforward.
7, 9 means this square is not You can't repeat a digit. I think I read that on a Nabna line. Digits cannot repeat on a Nabna line, yeah. So this digit is not 9, and it's not...
The reason, so DWeb points out, why is the 8 there? What is it doing? The 8 is setting up to tell you what this 21 sum is. And so that ultimately is what I finally sort of figured out to do with this to set it up was, oh, I can put an 8 here and then set up so I can tell you what this 21 sum is, because there's a handful of options for a 3-cell 21 sum, but this being an 8 forces it completely, which is why I ended up saying, like, okay, this sort of leads into the next deduction, which is nice.
Not 8, because 8 would be consecutive with 7 or 9, so that's 5. That square can be anything. 1, 2, and 3 are definitely not consecutive with 5s, 7s, and 9s. 2 in the column, if you look at this column, there's a sort of 1, 2, 3, 5 floating quadruple. Well, no, actual quadruple, in fact. And you can see that the 2 in that's down here. So these squares are not 2'd, which we could have seen using the 2 here. The 4 is down here. Is that useful? Surely there's something. These look too low. No, that's weird, isn't it? Actually, I don't think... I'm probably wrong, but I can't see how I could eliminate... No, I can't. I don't think I can eliminate anything. I can't. Both of these cells have all of those, their 3 options available to them. Okay, but what we can do is these 2 squares now can't possibly be low. Yeah, if these 2 squares were from 4...
Yeah, so this is what this line ultimately ended up doing that made me really like it, in addition to aesthetically looking nice. Like, these lines all have the same rough shape, and they all sort of square together in a way that at least I find pleasing visually. It's not very noisy visually. But these all put together... all those little pieces, this 8, this line, and these 2 all ultimately end up putting together to do what I wanted in this box. And so that ended up making me happy, because a lot of times in a puzzle, there's a bunch of pieces that I want to try and put together, and it's really difficult to sort of get them close enough to each other, so to speak. Like, I was sort of communicating from these are low up to this box, and this sort of lets us connect all these pieces in a way that I find pleasing.
It would be impossible not to have a consecutive pair. Because if we're selecting 3 digits from the digits 1, 2, 3, and 4, whatever you pick, you're going to end up with 2 of them being consecutive at least. So these squares are from 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's not 7. And botheration, that does nothing. Is that really true? Probably is.
I love Simon's face when he like finds something and then figures out it doesn't really do anything. It is always delightful. I always think of the setter-solver relationship as sort of playfully adversarial. Like, I definitely like I like people to feel that I'm being a little evil in the puzzles that they're solving, and then of course have the ultimate satisfaction of winning at the end, because of course the goal of the setter is to lose, as Sam Kappelman-Lyons always likes to say.
I don't think maths is going to be very easy on box 5, because... Oh, what does that add up to? We know that. That adds up to 21. Oh, well, here's something. Those 3 cells add up to 21. They don't have 8 in them. So they have to be 9, 7, 5. That's the only way that works. So that's 9, 7, 5. This isn't 5. This isn't 5, 7, or 9. That's 6 or 8 now. Oh.
I will reveal that when I was test solving this, I removed 7 from this cell because it was next to a 6 or an 8 on an Abner line. And then only later noticed that it was also literally like next to a 7.
No, it doesn't work. Ah, sorry. I thought that was going to do something to that square. And it actually has the effect of eliminating 7 from this square, which is already got rid of by naughty old Sudoku. Okay. Gosh, this line must be nearly broken. If that... Yeah, hit right. There must be 6 on this line. Because if this doesn't have 6 on it, then these 3 digits are selected from 1, 2, 3 and 4. And that's going to force again. It's exactly the same as this line. It's going to force 2 of those digits to be consecutive. So 6 is on this line, which means that square is now a 2, which means that... I'm sure it means something. Something very profoundly important. So this... Oh, well...
So the thing I imagined here, just to use the phrase, here I intended the phrase virtual quintuple to appear in your mind when thinking about this box, because the point is I've used, and this is what and then my words went away. This is what's Simon's noticing in row 4. Almost exactly the same thing is going to happen in box 5 here, where now we've used every high digit in this box except for 1. We absolutely have to use that high digit on this Nabner, and so that's going to force this to be surprisingly low.
Assuming I've got this right, these digits are from 1, 3, 4 and 6 just by Sudoku, and they clearly can't have 3 and 4 on them, can they? Because 3 and 4 are consecutive.
I like this
so
too.
So there must be a 1 in this sequence, which gets rid of a 1 from here.
It doesn't do anything, but it's nice.
Now, what does that mean? Does that mean we know this digit or not? Probably has to be quite high. Does it have to be 8 or 9? Oh, it would be 8 then, because it can't be 9, according to my pencil mark up here, but that might be wrong. Let's think. Right, this digit, it can't be 1. 1's on the line already. It can't be 2. 2's consecutive with 1. If it's 3, it can't be 3 because 4 would be on the line down here, and that would be consecutive, so it can't be 4 for the same reason. It can't be 5 because 5 is consecutive with 6. It can't be 6 because 6 is already on the line. It can't be 7 because 7 is consecutive with 6. So it is 8. That's the things that you just sort of look at and go, what on earth has happened there? So 8 comes... Oh, hang on. 8 comes out of these squares. So 8 is up here.
Ruling 8 off a black dot, not especially helpful.
I don't think that black dot's doing anything, but I might be wrong. That square's not 4 anymore. Eight is on this line. 8's ruled out from the bottom of column 9. Yeah, but that's fine, isn't it? This could still be quite big. Indeed, you could repeat a 9 on... yeah, you could. You could repeat a 9 on this line. We'll put 9 here.
There was some really heinous box 9 math in some version of this puzzle, which anyone who's done the puzzle, you should be very grateful that you did not do the version with the really heinous box 9 math. That it involved a lot of, as Simon said in the last video, pencil marking cells within an inch of their life.
Bother. Okay.
Yes, the black dot resolves a 2-6 deadly pattern. That's exactly what it does. It does nothing else at any other point.
If I was guessing where the weak point was now, I'm going to get...
Although, funnily enough, Wen Chang in his solve, because Wen Chang didn't see this 5, Wen Chang got stuck a bit and ended up resolving this black dot in a way that made it look like it was useful. Yeah, I think as Jay Dyer says, it gives you a 2-6 virtual pair that you can actually use to eliminate something from a cell. So if you're a clever enough solver, you can use it even though it wasn't intended to be useful.
Guess it's this line. but I'm not looking forward to trying to analyse it. So I'm just trying to see something more simple or simpler.
Simon is correct. This
Technical
is about to be
term.
the nastiest step in the puzzle.
Oh, I don't know. I can't see anything. Right, I think we're going to have to think about this line. Right. Okay, one way I can see of thinking about this is it possible there is no 6 or 8 on this line? There isn't 6 and 8 because that will break this square. If there was no 6 or 8, so if there wasn't the pair, the complement of this square, then those 3 digits again would be pulled from the set of digits 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they would necessarily have a repeated digit. This is almost the theme of this puzzle, is that every one of these yellow lines has this. You have to avoid this 1, 2, picking 3 digits from 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there is 6 and 8 on this line. So these 2 cells are now very low, because there's a sort of floating 6, 8 pair between these 4 cells. 2 of those 4 cells are 6 and 8. And 5, 7, and 9 appear in the box. So this is from 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I can go further than that, actually, because I'm going to claim as well, you can't just willy-nilly go 4 and 3 on this line, because then 1 and 2 are going to be there on the Nabna line.
Simon saw that right away. That was, again, sort of like one of the recurring themes of the puzzle is like you can write candidates on the region sum lines, but after you write candidates, you have to really think about exactly what combinations there are. And I was really happy with this. It sort of looks like it can be 3, 4, but it can't actually be 3, 4 because it would break the Nabner line.
So the digits that are in here, I think the maximum they could be would be a 2, 4 pair. That would give us 6. So the maximum these could be would be adding up to 6, which is quite interesting. I know. So if that was 2, 4, how would that work? This would be a 1, a 3, and a 6 or an 8, which is fine on the Nabna line.
It's funny to me, Simon has not done what I would have thought is the Simoniest thing yet, which is to note that this cell has to appear in box 5. And so you could just insta-pencil mark that this cell is 5, 7, or 9, because the only places it can go in box 5 are up here because of the fact that digits don't repeat on Nabner lines. And that's just a trick that I love so much because Simon taught it to me, so it shows up in lots of my puzzles. But I'm surprised that he has not spotted that one yet.
Okay. So whatever I pick here, I've got to make sure it doesn't leave behind a consecutive pair. So actually, that could be a 2, 3 pair, and that would leave behind it a 1, 4 pair with a 6 or an 8, and that works. So this definitely doesn't have to be 6. It could be lower. It couldn't be really.
Yes, it's not 7
well,
exactly.
No,
D-Web. That was very
low
that was
anyway.
very
That
deliberate.
would cause a repeat in the column. So I think all I'm actually learning, well, I know the maximum size these can add up to is 6. So they are from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's not 5. So there's an awful lot of this column now. Not that one. Oh, that's really nearly interesting, actually.
It will be interesting soon. This was definitely put here to create a sextuple. That was the whole point.
Hang on.
Simon is going to see it.
Yeah, no, it's obvious, actually. Okay, where are 7 and 9 in this column? Now, that square can't be 7 or 9, because these squares have got the 7 or 9 in them. And none of these other cells seem to be able to be 7 or 9.
He did it very quickly.
So that square is 7 or 9. and that square is 7 or 9. That's most peculiar. That is most peculiar. But now, okay, now, this is beautiful, actually. Oh, this is oh, come on. All right, that's my favourite bit of the puzzle. This is beautiful. Right, because
I'm
now
glad he spotted this quickly.
I know what this line is, believe it or not. Because I can just do Sudoku on this column with the 5. Where's the 5 in this column now? It's not there. So I think the only place it seems to be able to go is exactly there. But I know that these can't add up to more than 6. So that has to be 1. And that has to be a 2-4 pair. And now... Well, now goodness only knows what's going on. That's not 1. So that's not 3, because if this was 3, it would be consecutive with this digit. These squares are not 1. Oh, look at this. This is huge. 1 in box 1 is in this domino here, which means this square's a 3, that square's a 5, this square's a 1, this square's a 4, this square's a 1, this square's a 2. Oh, no, that's fine. 1 and 2 are not on an abner line. That's a 3. This is not 5, which is very important for the following
this
reason.
upcoming step is the one I received many comments about.
The reason. Well, okay, it's not very important, but there is now a 6 on this line, because this can't be an 8-9 pair on an abner line. Knock 6 out of one cell at the top of the grid.
I tried to use that 6. I was not successful.
Much more simple. Look, 2, 4, 6. There's a 2, 4, 6 triple in column 6. So that's placed 8 in box number 1. Now this black dot hasn't got 8 on it, which doesn't mean it can't have 4 on it, because it could be 2, 4. In fact, if it was 2, 4, that would give us a 6 here. So what's going on? I must know this digit. Is that digit just a naked... It's a 3, isn't it? Because I've got this sort of 2, 4, 6 triple. I've got a 7, 9 pair, and that's a 3 out of absolutely nowhere. So this is not a 3. Now, what are we labelling this? So there's definitely a 1. This is from 1, 6, 8, this Nabner line. It's definitely got 1 on it. Oh, okay, so that's a 4. So 4, 3, 1 go in, which corrects the Nabner line at the end of row 4. Look, this is really fascinating. And do I now know what this digit is? I probably do somehow. There's definitely a 1 on this line. So this square can't be 1, 2, 3 or 4. Can it be 5? Maybe. I don't know. I can't see why it can't. It can't be 6. Can it be 7? Is there an 8 on this line? Or do
yes,
we not know
Simon
that?
not noticing that it has to be
know,
5,
do
7,
we?
9 immediately.
So that could be 7 probably.
It's also definitely not a 7.
Oh, hang on. It can't be 8, can it? Because if it's 8, there's a 6 on the line there, and that square becomes impossible. So it's not. So it's 5, 7, or 9 probably.
Yeah, it can't be 5 is the mean step.
Is if there's an 8 here. Because if there's an 8 here, that knocks 7 and 9 out, and it would be 8, 5. And that, hang on, that didn't work when I did it in my head just now. If there's an 8 on this line, that's a 6. Yeah, that's really weird. That doesn't work. So, although it's very useful for that to happen, it doesn't actually work if you do that. If you put 8 on here, let me just show you. And I'm doing this as much for me. If there's an 8 there, that cannot be 7, 9, so it has to be 5. But that's a 6 if there's an 8 here. So we've got a 5 here and a 6 here, and that square's become impossible. So you can't have 8 on the line. We've just proved that by some weirdity or other. So it's a 1, 6 pair, which not. Oh, well, that's still good. That knocks 5 and 7 out. So it's just.
So the way I thought about it was less, if this is a whatever, this is a whatever. It was more a realizing this cell in my mind was a 5 or a 9. So just to go over how I thought about this, this cell had to go here. So it was a 5, 7, 9 from many minutes ago. It couldn't be a 7 because, as Simon said, there was definitely a 6 or an 8 on this line because there's sort of the 6-8 virtual pair floating between these two. And so then once this is only a 5 or a 9, you still have to put a 6 or an 8 on this line. You actually know how they work. 5 doesn't go with 6, and 9 doesn't go with 8. So 9 and the digit consecutive with 9, or 5 and the digit consecutive with 5, go in these two cells. And then if you're thinking about it holistically in that way, then I don't think it's really ridiculous to see that 5, 6 is not a valid combination because this cell is not going to like that combination. Anytime you have a digit on a Nabner, you can sort of think about yourself, where do the consecutive digits with this go, and get that. You can, of course, just do it as a random chain, but you can sort of, I was thinking about it a little more broadly than that when I saw it.
It's just a different form of good thing that we've worked out. So 9 has made an appearance here, which gives me a 9 and a 7.
Yes, it's great to have, Chip points out, 120 people watching. Great to have everyone hanging out here. And welcome, and I hope you'll come back. You can subscribe and like the video. Thank you very much.
It gives me an 8 here, so this square is now a 6, because it can't be 8 or 9. 6 and 1, here we go. 6 and 5. Right, what are these squares? 2, 7 and 8. We're going to learn what these add up to. 3 and something. 3 and 5. Right. So there's got to be a 1. Look, on this line. They add up to, these 3 cells add up to 8, so they've got to have 1 on them. Because 2, 3 and 4 add up to 9. So these squares are, well, okay, there's a 4 or a 5 in the corner. We know that now. Because
resolving which way this summed to 8 was an enormous pain. Like, I really liked this line and the shape of the line and all of this sort of stuff. I just adored all of that. But then it turned out to be ridiculously difficult to come up with any remotely coherent way to actually do this. It ends up being very elegant with the Nabner, I think. I think it relatively works out nicely. But it required sort of putting this length 4 Nabner here. And it really feels like you should not need a length 4 Nabner to decide whether this is one of two options. But I could not find a better way to do it than to ask that exact question of, like, sort of use this 4th length thing. There's also an awkward thing here where this was actually forced before there were any clues, even before this Nabner was here. But I could never for the life of me understand why, but I had a solver that would tell me. And when I asked Rank's solver to tell me, it was like, oh yes, there is a standard RSTU VWXYZ wing that forces that this cell can't be 2 or something like that. And I spent a really long time trying to understand, like, obviously I didn't want that to be there, but that also made it more awkward. Because that's a thing that can happen when you're setting, is something can be forced, but in a way that you're not going to want humans to figure out, is that then I couldn't add clues that would force it to be the other thing. I had to only add clues that would force it to be the thing that it actually had to be. But of course, there was no universe where, after spending 2 hours trying to understand why it had to be the one thing, where I was going to make the solver figure out why it had to be the one thing. But I had to then add clues that would force it to be the thing it was already forced to be, which is always a little tricky.
Think about the ways we can make 8. We can have 1, 2, 5 or 1, 3, 4. So you always have to have a 4 or a 5 on an 8 sum, and that square can be neither by Sudoku. So we've got to plonk the 4 and the 5 in the corner, which gives us a 2 or a 3 here. And it looks like we've got some sort of something going on with low digits in column 9, maybe.
Yeah, as 2 to 10th says in chat, that's always one of the most irksome things in setting, is to add a clue that tells you something that's already forced, because you have so little flexibility. And I do a lot of sort of like drawing in a bunch of things and considering a bunch of options and thinking about, but you just can't do that when you have when you have things forced. Yeah, that virtual 3-5 pair I tried really hard to use because there's a 3 or a 5 down here and there's a 3-5 there, and that never did anything. Like, this whole thing felt like there should be more than there was. This Nabner line felt incredibly heavy-handed because it felt like I should need only like the tiniest nudge to fix things. I do think the Nabner line does a good job of doing what it does, but without it, there were like all these things going on that I tried to use and just none of them did anything.
Well, yeah, okay. Where's 9 in column 9 now? That seems to be a reasonable question. It has to go in the corner, I think, because of our pencil mark at the top. So that square... Oh, where does 1... This is lovely. So where does 1 go? Oh, no, I've already got the 1. Oh, bobbins. Oh, I thought I was going to be good enough to do some Sudoku there, but of course... I'm not. Not.
Well, that's
nearly
unfortunate,
good enough.
Blackjack.
All right, let's try. That's not 8, for what that's worth. If that's 2,
Hidden,
that has
already
to be
placed
4,
one.
'cause it
Finding
can't be
hidden
1.
digits that are already placed is one of my specialties. Of being like, oh, there's only one place for the second 2 in column 9. Is a common zeta deduction for when I am solving.
If that's 4, this could be 2 only. And if that's 6, this could be...
Oh no, we're interrogating
3.
the black dot.
Oh, sorry, that doesn't seem to be doing what we need it to do. Oh, 9, look. 9 could come out of there. Oh, I see. So 9's in this domino. 1, 2. These are from 1, 2, 4, and 6. That seems to be... I think that gives that a lot of... Again, I suspect... I might be wrong, but this little tetromino here... I think is to deal with something quite late on. That's what I would guess. So we've got 2, 4, 8, and 9 in row 7. But we can't put...
So one thing you can do immediately is you can say, how many 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s do I need on this Nabner? I definitely need 2 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s on this Nabner. Otherwise, I can't make it work. Which then sort of makes these digits need to be relatively large, and that lets you sort of do some Sudoku stuff if you are so inclined. But you can also make the observation that chat has that 2, 5 is not an acceptable combination for what goes on this Nabner, because then you end up only what goes on this region sum line, because 2 and 5 don't leave you the digits to make a length 4 region sum line, which is not my favorite deduction. I preferred the way that went through it by sort of like thinking through like pairs of things but I also knew that people would be able to just sort of go through in their head the what is it that this has to be, and just go through the 2 cases and realize it. So I knew probably only, some people would think about it the sort of deductive way that I did. But there was a way to do it that I thought was nice.
Oh, that's a mildly interesting domino. Because you can't put 2 and 4 here, because that will eliminate both options of making this domino add up to 7. So this cannot be a 2. All right, so this cannot be a 2-4 pair. That's impossible, although it would work on the Nabner line. It breaks this. So if you do make that a 2-4, so because it can't be a 2-4 pair, one of these squares is an 8 or a 9, partners up with this 8 or 9, gets rid of 8 and 9 from this square, gives me a 2-4 pair.
Simon doing a good job of finding the virtual pairs that I referred to when I talked about this.
That's a 1. 6 is in one of these squares, which means
a pair of virtual pairs.
Oh no, I think we almost already knew everything. Did we already know all? No. Okay, this is still good. We're still in play here, because where is 6 in box 9? And the answer is I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. Although actually, now I look at it, it is quite restricted. It's in one of those 2 squares, but that means 6 in column 9 has to go there, apparently, which means these two squares become a 1, 4 pair, which... So if there was a 4 in here, we'd get the 4 here. That would be huge for this domino, because that would have to then be a 3, 6 pair. So...
Sometimes the hard way is more fun.
Hang on. What's going on with this line now? If you put 4 on the line, no, you're right. No, it's simple. You can't put 4 on this line, can you? I might be wrong about this, but when I just went through it with my brain said, no, that doesn't work. But my brain has been known to be wrong. When it's being naughty. If you 4, yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking is if I put 4 here, then this becomes a 5 and this becomes a 2. And because I've got 4 on the line, I can't put 3 on the line. So the other 3 digits on that Nabna line now have to be selected from 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's like an inverted Nabna line logic compared to all the Nabna line logics we've had so far have been thinking about whether we can take 3 of the digits 1, 2, 3 and 4 on. But this, putting a 4 here, would say to us, can we take 3 of the digits 6, 7, 8 and 9? And we clearly can't, so there cannot be a 4 on this line. Which means 4 is here. That's great. Okay, so 4, 4, 2...
An inverted Nabner line.
Soccer formation. It seems to place a 4 here.
Now
which means there's no 4 up here. There's no 1 up here.
The 2-6 deadly pattern is now, as promised, is now in full effect. This is just, if there wasn't a clue that touched these cells like this black dot, it could not be resolved. But again, part of this was because I wanted to keep this 8 line. I tried to get rid of this 8 line, but it was so beautiful of a reward for everything over here, having this torturous 8 region sum line, that I really wanted to keep it. And then that sort of forced me to put something over here, but then that forced... Like everything I did then forced this deadly pattern, so I just couldn't really get rid of it. I tried rewinding it, but not so much.
All of a sudden in box, which means knocks 2 off this square. So that's still okay, I think. We do know there's a 2 on this line. So if we know there's a 2 on this line, we know how this is made up. That's got to be a 3, and that's got to be a 4, and that's a 3, and that's a 5. Which is presumably... Well, this line is known, isn't it? This line has 2 on it. But then the other 3 digits have to be selected from 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 and not contain a consecutive pair. So they have to be 5, 7 and 9. So this line has no 8 on it. So it is, that's a 2, 9 pair apparently. This must be a 5, 7 pair. This is not 6, so we get the 6, we get an 8 in this box, we get no 8 there, we get the 6 and the 2 at the top, look, 6, 2, 7, 2, 8, 5 over here, so we get 5, 7, 2, 9, 9, 8, 2 something, 2, 9 here, which is we're still going here. 9 in that box is now forced.
This all collapses pretty
7, which gives us the 9.
Helpfully from here, for the most part.
3, 5, 7 triple here, so we've not put 8 into this world. 5, 7 here, 1, 4 here. Right, what's that digit? That digit is now a 7. That's probably not what we wanted it to be, is it? So it probably is this line. It's going to be something about forcing this not to be a 5. It is, look at that, look at that. You can't put 5 here because it would be consecutive. So 5 has to go there, which which means that's got to be 573. Has that done it? So this is 1 or 4. It's 4 then. 4, 3, 6, 2, 2, 6, 4, 1, 5, 7, and something. 1. Beautiful. What a great puzzle. That was really, really interesting, which is everything I have come to expect from the great man. 120 people have solved this. Wow.
Same number of people watching on YouTube.
Everyone tries
Excellent.
these puzzles. They're that good. Really, really loved it, as always. And I like the way that there was I think there was a theme. It seemed to me to be about, can you pick 3 digits on lines from 4 consecutive digits, and you kept on not being able to do that, and that kept on providing more and more logic in the puzzle. So very, very enjoyable. And
Yeah, a lot of people in chat pointing out that Simon didn't mention the deadly pattern. I feel like when you're in solving mode, you often don't sort of like play that sort of like dissecting the setter's intent game. I mean, sometimes you will, but often your brain will just be like, is this clue useful to me now? No, it's not. Well, then I'm not going to think about it. And then you don't sort of end up noticing like what it's actually doing. But if you're someone who does a lot of setting, which Simon does not do a lot of setting, then your mind is instantly drawn to this to be like, why is this here? Why did this awful setter leave a black dot in the puzzle? That kind of thing is sort of a natural thing to wonder about.
It was a beautiful beauty mark that we found. Not a beautiful pencil mark. So thanks, zetamath, for setting another stunner. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments how you got on with the puzzle. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.
Thank you, Igor. Yeah, I was quite happy with how that one came out. I will say Lakia saying, "Watch me enough to know immediately to look to the left and ignore the dot." Yeah, that is a very sort of thing you can infer from a lot of watching my puzzles or doing my puzzles is that yes, I will often use a black dot that is just to disambiguate something. There's a black dot in 20 lines that is just there to disambiguate something, but it does disambiguate it in a more interesting way. This might be the only black dot I've put in a puzzle that literally just disambiguates a deadly pattern. There's a black dot in 2D wave particles that does something, although God only knows what it is, because that puzzle is completely incomprehensible to me, but there is one there. But yes, thank you. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I had to say, if you're enjoying Nabner puzzles, at least for my personal taste, I like my other Nabner puzzle that I published recently better. So Cascade is a Nabner black dot puzzle. Let's see if I can pull it up for you real quick. Oops, that's not it. Oh, maybe I cannot. I might not be. Oh, there we go. One moment, I can pull up the grid for you just to show you what it looks like and talk about it for a second. Oh, it's not wanting me to log in because of course it doesn't. What is wrong with you, LMD? Making life difficult. Let's see, will you let me log in now? No, it is being very picky. I won't spoil the sort of intended. There's now a Zeta Bean on Logic Masters Germany. I don't think there used to be a Zeta Bean on Logic Masters Germany, but I don't have to type my own name very often on Logic Masters Germany. Let's see. Oh, that didn't load right. There we go. Let's see. Does that look reasonable on camera? Yes. No. Kind of. But yes, anyway, there is this Nabner puzzle. You can see also the much less appealing yellow. I might have to switch to the yellow that CTC is using because it looks less like someone deliberately chose an unpleasant color than this. But anyway, this is my favorite of my Nabner puzzles, other than the original. My original Nabner puzzle is one of my favorite puzzles that I've ever set, and has a very different flavor than any of these. But actually, a lot of the logic, uh, it's not any kind of yellow. Do you see this as like a green? I guess if someone had called this like a, I don't know, like a really unhealthy green, I could see that. Uh, but a lot of the logic that Simon was thinking through in his solve of Beauty Mark that didn't end up useful did not appear in Beauty Mark because it appears in this puzzle. The weird green zone, yeah, the khaki. Actually, khaki is a very, very natural answer for what this is. Yeah, blackjack is much closer to what I see when I look at it. But yeah, I just really tried to find something that didn't look like regular lines. But I think just going boldly with a bright yellow is, I think, probably the way to go, which is what Cracking the Cryptic has been doing. But anyway, that's the short version. Is if you want to do another puzzle and you have not done this puzzle, I keep trying to highlight cells and it won't let me because that's not how JPEGs work. But anyway, I would recommend this one. Although I will note that at least one certain cat of a certain height, I believe, despised this puzzle. Selena's Nabner puzzle is amazing. Yes, Selena also has a Nabner puzzle. What is Selena's LMD page? I will advertise it if I remember what Selena's LMD name is. Selena also had one that I did on stream the other day that was amazing. So if you're interested in sort of hopping on the Nabner bandwagon, then this puzzle I will also recommend. Oops, I then typed Selena instead of typing the thing that I was told this to type, and so then it didn't work for reasons that I can only guess. This puzzle is Selena's first puzzle under Silver Step on here. Go give it a solve if you would like. I quite enjoyed this puzzle. I found it to be a great treat. So anyway, I recommend that if you have not yet done so. Alrighty, I think that's all I have for you today. On Friday, I will be streaming. I think Tristan's already scheduled the stream, so you can see what time it is. If not, Tristan will schedule it soon. But anyway, I'll be back on Friday, a little later than the time I used to start on Fridays. But I'll do a 4-hour stream on Friday. We're going to be continuing our 200th stream celebration puzzles. So we'll do that. And I believe on Sunday, we will have Tall Cat. And we're supposedly going to do 200 stream puzzles, but I possibly will instead make him solve Cascade on stream because he enjoyed so much his first solve of Cascade. But anyway, I will see you all soon. Thanks for hanging out. I love doing these, and I'm glad that so many of you seem to enjoy them as well. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Bye for now. Oops, I hit the ending button and it didn't actually do it. Let me try it again. Let's try it again. 3, 2, 1.